So we're going to be talking about top 5 Death Valley moments. And we want to see your top 5 too, or at least your best, your most exciting Death Valley moment that you can remember. And I will tell you, I'll give you a disclaimer that we were kind of fighting back and forth over this one. And because I felt like I needed more time to research this because it's a big subject. Now the rule is it can't be, you can't say 4th and 16 because that wasn't in Death Valley, right? That's the rule. Okay, so we're just going to do things that happened in Death Valley in Clemson. All right, and you want me to start it or you start it off?
Go ahead, give us a start here. You're starting number 5. What you got?
All right, this is one that I got to experience with you, and I thought it was really exciting. It was one of those things that kind of proved that we could hang with those big SEC guys, one of those moments, right, that in Dabo Swinney's era, which he's been proving ever since day one, really, in my opinion. But this one is Sammy Watkins taking it to the house against Georgia. Taj Boyd kind of sidearms it in on him, and he grabs it, throws his shoulder on one of the cornerbacks, and just takes it to the house. I don't think that correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they won that game, but or they might have won that game and then lost the other game. I can't remember, but I know that was a huge play for Clemson, and it was one of those where they were just two heavyweights going back and forth, and so that's why I have that one at number 5.
All right, I can see that. Some of these, obviously, I talked about moments, and some of them ended up being kind of a moment of a bigger moment. Like my first one, I have game day for Georgia in 2013. If everybody remembers that, this ESPN did a huge special on the buses and everything. They actually put a camera on the bus, drove it around the stadium. The place was rocking, okay? Death Valley was incredibly loud that night. Obviously, some of the Georgia Bulldogs decided it would be a good idea to stand at the bottom of the hill. Did not work out very well for them. South Carolina did it, obviously, years before that. It did not work out very well for either of those teams. So I would encourage you to keep doing that. And of course, I don't expect anything less from some Georgia fans, to disrespect the Tigers like that and stand at the bottom of the hill. But no, it was a great game. Like I said, very loud. And then, of course, that led to the famous Musburger line. Even Georgia had to take a peek. It's one of my favorite lines ever uttered on television. It was great. So that is my number 5.
Yeah, I think that was the same game, honestly, because that was when Sammy Watkins was there. So they won that game, and I think they lost the game in Georgia with Deshaun, where they couldn't decide if they wanted Deshaun Watson to be quarterback. Crazy enough to say that. But yeah, I remember that college game day. You and I remember watching that game, and it was really special. I still watch that intro where they throw the chips in the bucket. They get into the buses, and the police lights go on. I love that. I can't wait to experience that with my daughter and to be able to show her just the excitement and the pageantry of a night game at Clemson. So that's why I'm excited about Thursday night too. So, but that's my number 5. So and ours kind of matched there. Even though I'll let you know right now, we don't plan these out. We don't tell each other beforehand. So Alan doesn't know mine and I don't know his. But my number 4 was another fun moment. I need to tag him in it, but DeAndre McDaniel intercepting Florida State. Another time where it's like, hey, we can play with the big dogs.
Yeah.
Intercepts Christian Ponder. Not only intercepts him, sees Christian coming at him for a tackle, points at him like, you ready? and just lays him out.
Yep.
And I think breaks his collarbone in that play. So. And I always loved DeAndre McDaniel when he played. I love watching guys that can get a ton of interceptions. He had a really great year that year, so that's why he was at my number 4.
Yeah, that is a great moment. As a matter of fact, you might hear a little bit on that later. My number 4 is the catch-2. We talked about this, a while back in one of our top 5s that we had mentioned. I think it was top 5 victories over South Carolina, which was a great segment. It was in 2000. Woody Dancer, Rod Gardner to set up the game-winning field goal. The only reason this wasn't higher for me is because I was in the box seats. So I didn't get to hear the crowd. I didn't get to feel the crowd, and you know how I am. Okay, I love the noise. I love to hear the crowd roar. It's one of my favorite things about going to the game. And I didn't get to hear it quite as much with this moment. But at the same time, what an epic moment, okay? It's one that's burned into Clemson fans' memories forever. So the catch-2 was definitely number 4 on my list, and it was a solid number 4. I loved it, and I wish we could see it again.
How dare you put that one that low on your list? How dare you?
It's all about the noise. You'll see that here soon enough.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm going to trust you here. I know we got 29 people watching over on YouTube right now that don't agree with you, or at least I assume they agree with me. That's how I always play
Naturally.
things out. But,
Yeah.
so my number three is, and I'll tell you the catch number two. But let me go back to that real quick. Catch number two. You were in the box seats. I was down there freezing my tail off with my dad, and I'll
Yeah.
never forget it. I said it before. Go check out that old video. You'll hear about us talk about the catch number two. But it was like 32 degrees that night. But man, it was rocking, and that was exciting. Um, my number three, and somebody actually, Ross Fryer actually put this in here. He beat me to it. But my number three is C.J. Spiller's double juke to the house with Georgia Tech. Now, obviously, I had to put this because it's in our show intro. So why would I put a video or clip into a show intro and then not say it's one of my favorite moments? That doesn't make any sense, right? So that's why we put C.J. Spiller, the double juke. Man, he catches the little pass to the outside, goes to the right, guy goes by him. Goes to the left, guy goes by him. Then takes it to the house with just, lightning. And even the announcers were just amazed by what happened. You just don't see a guy go one-on-one, make him go to the out of bounds, then go one-on-one with the next guy right behind him and make him go off of his feet to the left.
Yeah.
That was just an amazing play. It showed how great C.J. Spiller was. And I think even Ross Fryer said that, or he put another game that we lost. I don't know if we won or lost. I think we were actually down. If you look, it was like 17-3, and C.J. Spiller did that touchdown. So that's why, obviously, C.J. is one of our favorite players ever, right? Everybody's favorite player, one of their favorite players. So he's number 3 on my list.
Well, Nick Cullen agrees with you, so that should tell you you're wrong right there. But look, that's a great moment, and that should definitely be that should definitely reserve a spot in anybody's top 10. And as a matter of fact, if it were part of a bigger, let's say a bigger theme, I would have allowed it on my list. But number 3 on my list was Notre Dame game in the monsoon. Okay, I mean that was just there's so much going for that game. It was a massively hyped game, with Kaiser coming into Death Valley. We all saw the look on Brian Kelly's face. It's burned into our memories. We knew for about a week that we were going to need a raft to possibly get in the valley. I think a state of emergency maybe had been called. Governor Haley, was talking about the emergency and about the hurricane coming in. And I mean, when you get there and it is pouring down rain, it is insanely loud. The students are there, the fans are there. They showed up, they showed out. It was an awesome game. And of course, we win in the most dramatic, way possible with a big stop on a 2-point conversion. I think that Ben Boulware, of course, was in on that stop amongst other people. But what a great game. So I'm going to say the monsoon at the Notre Dame game for my number 3.
Man, you have just ruined my list. And this is how it goes because, like I said, we don't plan this out beforehand. So, and I felt like I was way off base. I didn't really know if I knew there were going to be a lot of people say, "Oh, well, you forgot about the game in 1970."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can't really go off of games I wasn't there. If you want to talk about games back in the 70s, go call into Walt Neptula's show because he can tell you about those things. But hey, DeAndre Crawford, welcome to the show, man. 8:30, buddy. Come on. You're a little behind, but if you miss anything, you can always check out the replay on Facebook and YouTube. So no worries there. I'm just picking on you there, but I'm glad to have you. He said, "What's good, Al?" And we're happy to have you. My number 2 is, now I'm just copying off of your paper, which reminds you of high school. My number 2 is the defensive line. A lot of people give Ben Boulware credit, but it was like 3 guys just moving a wall to the left and stopping that run in the rain and then doing the cartwheel and getting the personal foul. I mean, come on, really. You got to let these guys enjoy the moment. I mean, and he tripped. I don't think he really did a cartwheel. I mean, maybe he did, but I felt like he tripped. But anyways, they still ended up winning the game. It was a huge play. That was the national championship year, and so it was a big deal. That was awesome, amazing to see, and so I was excited for that. Just seeing the fans like soaking wet, cheering their hearts out. And I think that was the BYOG game, and so that was another special moment too. But that was my number 2. What's your number 2?
That's a good number 2. I'm actually going back to one of your previous ones for a same game, different reason. Okay, I'm going back to FSU 2009. Obviously, you talked about Christian Ponder getting intercepted by DeAndre McDaniel, McDaniel pointing him out and laying the wood to him, breaking his collarbone. What a moment that was. But for me, again, it's all about crowd noise. The "We Will Rock You" moment. All right, we go to the TV timeout in that game, and whoever's in charge of the music starts playing "We Will Rock You," and we actually got to get into that song a little bit because we had plenty of time. It was really loud over the loudspeakers, and the entire stadium was singing "We Will Rock You." It was one of the most incredible things I've ever been a part of. As a matter of fact, there's a great video of it on YouTube. You can type in Clemson "We Will Rock You," and there's a good video from field level. I think a little feature from Terrence Ash in there, I believe. He's on the kickoff team. But it was a great moment. They've tried to duplicate it a couple times. They like to play it at games now to try to get the same momentum going. It's just not the same. It was too big of a moment back then, and the whole crowd was into it. Night game, obviously. It's one of my favorite moments all time in Death Valley.
A lot of guys talking about Hunter Renfrow. It looks like I believe, Clinton, that Hunter Renfrow getting face mask, spinning around, and juking out 15 people to get to the end zone. I think that was in Carolina.
It was.
So I didn't put that one down. And then Clemson Carson said Hunter Renfrow catching the national championship winner. He'll never forget how that felt. Hey, I won't ever forget how that felt. It wasn't in Death Valley, but I mean, that was amazing. Alan and I were both there. It was an amazing story for me just to get into the stadium, but to be able to watch that in the last second was I mean, you can never go back. Trevor Lawrence will have to win 3 national championships and a Heisman Trophy for me to ever say that he's better than Deshaun Watson, even though I know statistically he'll probably be better than Deshaun Watson, but I digress. My number 1, again, cheating off of Alan's paper, is, again, another one that is in my intro video. So now you know, the catch number 2 with my dad. We were there. We watched it. We were nervous. It was freezing cold. I had a blanket on me, and I was at an age where I could barely see over everybody else in front of me, but stood up on the bleachers, caught it. I just remember giving him a big, giant hug, and I remember, being so nervous about the field goal, and then we made it, and it was just, rocking and rolling the rest of the night. It was awesome. So I'll never forget that. That was my number 1. I'm curious what your number 1 is, because you've already said you said my number 1, you said my number 2. I don't think you said my number 3. Maybe it's my number 3.
Well, I'm about to throw everybody for a big loop here. I'm ready to get booed off stage, as a matter of fact, for this. But what I tell you is important in my list. Okay, crowd noise, right? All right. If you don't remember Miami in 2005, okay, then you're missing out. It was the loudest Death Valley has ever been. Please, I'm hoping somebody remembers this. We lost this game. Okay, my best moment in Death Valley ended up in a loss. Okay, it was a great game. It was when you finally realized, or you thought at least, Clemson had arrived. They were competing with a Miami team who was still good back then. They were still Miami back then. Okay, so a lot of people were loving them. We were going back and forth. We needed a big stop on 3rd down, and Charles Bennett comes and just destroys the Miami quarterback, and the place went absolutely bananas. There's an amazing video on YouTube about this as well. They give you I think a video from the stands and maybe from on the field what the noise sounded like. It's an awesome video. I definitely recommend you check that out. It was an awesome game. I think Whitehurst missed like a wide open receiver that would have given us a touchdown to win. I think the cornerback fell down. Receiver leaked out on the left side, and he just overshot him. It was a brutal end because we had to settle for a field goal and lost in triple overtime. Whitehurst ended up throwing an interception in triple overtime, and we lost that game. But I was actually at that game with my dad as well. We watched the last little bit of that game from the portal on the south stand. So I don't know. I'm hoping he remembers that. That was a great game, and it was just the greatest moment ever. That I don't know if it'll ever be duplicated. We tried to get loud, but that was as loud as I've ever heard it, and it had never reached that point again.
It's starting to come back to me now. I pulled it up over here on ESPN. 36-30 in triple overtime. Clemson rallies, but Miami wins. Tyrone Moss, 25-yard touchdown run in the 3rd overtime, lifted number 13 Miami over number 20 Clemson and helped the Hurricanes avoid their first 0-2 start. I remember that. They had started off 0-2, and that we were like, this is the time for us to take advantage of this. And I remember Charlie Whitehurst taking them all the way that far, and then they ended up not winning that game. That was one, I don't know, was that before or after the one where they beat them? Was it the next year that Charlie Whitehurst, or was that Kyle Parker? I think Kyle Parker ended up beating them in Miami. I don't know if that was like the redemption game or something. I remember that game better because Jacoby Ford coming across the middle, and it was another overtime game, and they won that one. And it was like, oh, thank God they won the game.